So today's story is from Action 241, Action Comics. This would be June 1958. Technically, I guess it's considered the first Silver Age Superman story. Um, the writer is Jerry Coleman, and the artist is Wayne Boring. So we have here the super key to Superman, to Fort Superman, which is his fortress of solitude. And he says it would take 100 men to lift this super key, yet someone has managed to use it. Who could it be? So we'll start off deep in the core. Let's see. Deep in the core of a mountainside in the desolate Arctic wastes lies Superman's fortress of solitude, where the Man of Steel conducts incredible experiments, keeps strange trophies, and pursues astounding hobbies. Its contents will amaze you, but even more amazing is the impossible enigma behind the intruder who found a way to use the super key to Fort Superman. So, there's a lot of padding in this particular story. We start off with Lois and Jimmy Olsen, and they're both kind of pining for an object. Lois wants a necklace, and Jimmy Olsen wants a sports car. So Superman, he's just kind of doing his thing, goes off to his fortress of solitude, and he says, "From above, this looks like a luminous arrow marker to guide planes. Do things like that exist over this lonely region? No one would suspect it's really a key, a super key that weighs tons and that no one else can lift." So he uses the key to get in his fortress of solitude, which at this point, okay, no, it is called Fortress of Solitude. So he hangs up his key, and apparently it's under some outcroppings, so people can't see it. And then he looks in there, and he's got a room dedicated to Lois Lane. He's got a room dedicated to Jimmy Olsen, and apparently he has plans that if he should die, that she'll get a necklace and he'll get his sports car. And then there's a room dedicated to Batman, and a room dedicated to Clark Kent in case anyone should break in. They would see Clark Kent and think, well, then they must not be the same person, because why would he make a room dedicated to Clark Kent? So he decides to do some painting, do a little bit of experimenting with kryptonite, and then puts his key back, goes to a scientist. The scientist says, "I want you to test out this, I guess, unbreakable substance, and but you have to do it somewhere isolated." And he decides to take it to his Fortress of Solitude. And then when he gets back, he finds this message, which is really hard to read. "Prepare for the greatest puzzle of your career, Superman. I can enter and leave at will. Who am I? How can I do it? I dare you to find out." It's impossible. No one can get in here. So he kind of looks around his Fortress of Solitude, and he's wondering how anyone could have gotten in. Could it be some crystals from Planet X? Maybe released an alien. Maybe one of the aliens he has in a cage is more intelligent than he thought. So he's kind of perplexed as to how anyone could have gotten into his Fortress of Solitude. And he starts writing in his big book, using his finger to carve into solid metal. And he writes in Kryptonese, so no one could possibly read it. And then he melts his own door. That way there's no way to get in. He goes off and he's kind of doing some more super feats, and then to get back in, he just drills through the side of the mountain and discovers that somebody has finished his painting. So there's been somebody there. Somebody has been in his Fortress of Solitude. How is this possible? This is where it gets really hard to read. I told you I could. I can't even read it. "I told you I couldn't be kept out. You like puzzles. Can you guess who I am? I know who you are, and I'll reveal my knowledge in 24 hours. Okay, so then Superman even has a nightmare, and I guess he's a little off his game, so he's trying to rescue a boat, but they're complaining that he's rocking the boat and it's more dangerous than what they were rescuing him from. He goes back to his Fortress of Solitude again burrows through the wall, and he says, incredible, who or what is he? So there's a sign on Clark Kent. It says, Kent is Superman. I told you I knew. Now I have proved it. Tonight is your last chance to act. So he goes in. He's looking at the Batman room, and he says, a blob of melted wax on the floor. Gray and blue. I can't believe it. But that must be it. Must be the explanation. Now it's my turn to act. So can anyone figure out who broke in? I mean, it's so super obvious. Who could that mysterious figure be with the bat cowl on? Obviously it's Batman. The walls of this fortress are shaking. It's an earthquake. Great Scott. I'll never be able to get out of here alive. I'm sealed in by tons of rocks, and Superman can't help me either. The quake dislodged that chunk of kryptonite he was working on. So he runs in there, but there's nothing he can do because they're sealed in, so he can't get the kryptonite far enough away to help Superman, so they're both trapped. He says, I'm sorry you are the intruder because it means you must share my doom. However, let us face our fate bravely as our last minutes draw to an end. Tell me, how did you get in? So he explains how he got in, since they're both going to die anyway. Apparently he got up on the key, and he said, I'll open the hollow front of the key. Why would the key have a hollow front? A doctorate with hinges. Okay. Was Superman trying to save some money by having a hollow key? So he hides, I guess, in the penny. He says it's made of lead, which his X-ray vision can't pierce. Its interior will be perfect hiding place. So he hides within the penny that they got from. Yeah, it's kind of weird because I could have sworn that penny was also in the Bat Cave, but maybe I'm wrong. And then he, at one point, melts down the Batman statue and just leaves the blob on the floor. I never guessed we'd share our doom instead of what? You're laughing. Now, I have to say, this is why these Silver Age stories are so... And this isn't even Otto Binder. This is Jerry Coleman. So, at this point, that is the actual Batman, not the statue. That statue is melted. So, this is the problem with writing a godlike character like Superman. Obviously, he would hear the heartbeat. He would hear Batman's breathing. If he didn't notice the slight movement, he would feel the heat of his body. He would smell Batman. But I mean, he did figure it out right then and there. But how Batman could possibly think he could get away with it? And Superman. Okay, so then we find out, I was lying all the time. The kryptonite is phony, and the quake was caused by vibrations from a super clap of my hands. The rest of the fort is still unharmed. And Batman says, Whew, you certainly fooled me, as much as I fooled you, but how did you guess I was the intruder? Duh. The blob of wax. Which you just left there. So Batman says, I left my hiding place in the coin because I was ready to surprise you with the solution if you didn't get it yourself tonight. As soon as I realized it was you, I checked out the key and saw how you got in. Then I planned a little surprise for you. And then he asks why he did it, and he's like, it's your anniversary of you coming from Krypton, so I thought you'd enjoy a puzzle. And then Superman says, thanks, pal. You gave me a gift that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And then they go back, and apparently Batman has prepared him a gigantic cake. And so I don't know if Superman has a gigantic appetite and will eat all that cake, or if they're just going to have a lot of cake left over. So happy anniversary to Superman. And that is the mystery of the super key to Superman's Fortress of Solitude.